Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. As you can tell by the title, this is going to be about a concept called anti-intellectualism. So anti-intellectualism is a broad term that refers to the denial and mistrust of science, the arts, history, and literature. This concept is pretty familiar to American culture and politics. So in order to really dive into it, I'll have to give a little bit of a background of its history, how I believe it's continuously eroded the educational system, and how eventually this movement led to a political outsider like Donald Trump to become president.
You know, I've always wanted to say this. I've never said this before. With all the talking we all do, all of these experts, we need an expert. The experts are terrible.
As you know, I'm your host, Randon, and you're tuned in to Don't Worry, We'll Talk It Out. They say ignorance is bliss. I say it's only blissful to the ignorant. The rest of us have to live with the consequences. I mentioned before in this podcast that the coronavirus pandemic has unearthed deep social problems, especially in American culture. So many factors have contributed to the idea that experts in their field, be it virology, economics, or public health, can now be challenged by individuals with minimal knowledge in that field and without evidence. This country has shifted from a healthy skepticism to proud ignorance, an act of hostility to anyone who deems themselves to be an expert. Across American society, intellectual authority is being resented, resisted, and disregarded. And in the internet age, where every opinion, online and in person, seem to hold the same weight. This has been shown countless times in major news outlets, mainstream media articles, and especially in the presidential press briefings. So, let's start with the history lesson. Nearly 60 years ago, at the height of McCarthyism, a historian by the name of Richard Hofstadter published a book called Anti-Intellectualism in American Life. Hofstadter thought that anti-intellectualism was essentially a social class response by the middle class against the privileges of the political and intellectual elites. A major part of the disdain for the intellectual comes from a perceived notion of the experts being pretentious and looking down on the underprivileged and not as formally educated man. This disdain for experts has literally caused America to lose its battle against the coronavirus for many reasons associated with anti-intellectual thinking. According to a recent survey by the Pew Research Center, only 27% of Republicans trust scientists, and only 31% trust medical science. The refusal to wear masks, the rejection of social distancing recommendations, and outright hostility to all aspects of shutdowns are not merely fodder for political arguments. These anti-intellectual outbursts actually hurt people, and in many ways, as you already know, has killed quite a lot. This middle-class response was characterized searching for the opposite of the so-called liberal educated professional. They were looking for a self-made man whose experiences in the real world would actually shape how they would interact and they would work in the interest of the middle class. Eventually, this individual would have to declare himself a champion of the common folk. And in a way, Hofstadter predicted a very important aspect of the ascension of Donald Trump to the presidency. Now, of course, the paradox is that Donald Trump is far from a self-made man. He's similar to another important president of the anti-intellectual movement, George W. Bush.
Those of you who are graduating this afternoon with high honors, awards, and distinctions, I say well done. And as I like to tell the C students, you too can be president.
Both of these individuals attended prestigious Ivy League schools and were of course born into numerous amounts of wealth and privilege. But according to their supporters, they're simple and they're to the point.
We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
They are concerned with boring and pretentious evidence or facts. Simply put, to some, they're just someone that you'd like to have a beer with. Now, an important aspect here is education. For decades, the facade of American exceptionalism has actually eroded our educational system. There is without a doubt a severe problem. In the past decades, American college graduates are rising at all-time highs. But now, we rank 12th in the world for college graduates. Meanwhile, testing scores and academic achievement is lagging nationwide. especially in underfunded public schools. And of course, it's no surprise that we see a lagging educational system after decades of budget cuts to all aspects of creativity and imagination, science, arts, music, history, and civics. The creativity of our students are being taken from them, and with it, the yearning of knowledge is lost. Learning now signifies homework, grades, and the anxiety of future admission decisions. All of this has accumulated in the form of a narrow specialization that then could be sold off for the highest profit. Catherine Lau, a film and media studies professor at the University of California, is quoted as saying, "The very mission of universities across America has changed. We don't educate people anymore. We train them to get jobs." The narrow specialization of university curriculum seems almost intentionally calculated to create a graduate who is deeply indebted, carefully trained, but also profoundly ignorant. Someone who can excel in a complicated profession, but can't navigate the complexities and contradictions of political discourse, social discourse, and vast amounts of cultural changes. Anyone familiar with me and the numerous topics on this podcast will know that I've been talking about the importance of debate and social discourse for a long time, especially in today's time. Combined with the ever-changing reality that is the internet, the pandemic has shone a light on Americans' ability to put emotion over reason, and a lack of critical thinking skills is highly evident. The attack on knowledge seems to be happening everywhere. Parents argue with their children's doctors over the side effects of vaccines. Famous athletes ponder out loud if the earth is flat. A U.S. senator thinks he's confirming climate change is a hoax by bringing a snowball onto the chamber floor. The war on science by right-wing Christian populism and fundamentalism, the fossil fuel industry, the tobacco industry, and the spread of outright bogus conspiracy theories only come to harm democracy in any form for rational conversation. It seems to be that people think science and public health policy is purposely infringing upon their freedom and autonomy. Or some might feel they know better, because at the end of the day, they can pull out their phones and affirm their worldview with a quick Google search. Misinformation filters down to the millions of individuals who don't always stay abreast of the American news cycle. But they're exposed to bad information through similarly ill-informed family and friends who post memes and other notices on social media. And many I know who don't even consider themselves, say, Trump supporters, I've seen have fallen victim to right-wing misinformation because of their reliance on social media. I knew something was deeply flawed in the American system once Dr. Anthony Fauci and his family began to receive death threats. I mean, to think that a public health official who has worked in the White House for nearly 50 years, with both sides, bipartisan, with Republican presidents and Democratic presidents, would receive death threats because of people thinking that he has purposely politicized the virus. The deep divisiveness in this country shows, and it's honestly very sad and heartbreaking. But I can't say I'm surprised. To see the disdain for someone like Dr. Anthony Fauci, the leading infectious disease expert in the country, only solidifies this anti-intellectual movement that has steadily been creeping into us since the 60s. And this, America, is why we can't have nice things. I always preach about staying informed as a society and as individuals. I recommend to try reading the news from non-American news sites. It really helps, honestly. This allows one to look at aspects of America's dysfunction from an outsider perspective. I use a number of different sites like BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, and Al Jazeera, the leading Middle Eastern news corporation. I think they're pretty excellent. So this is somewhat, I guess, of a public service announcement, essentially. I feel anti-intellectualism is something that really creeps into authoritarian countries, honestly, and it's very it's just not good when we have individuals who disregard experts who are genuinely just trying to do their job as individuals who are trying to harm people on purpose, or that they are part of grander conspiracy theories that there's really no evidence for. And because of social media's ability to warp our sense of reality and confirm and affirm our worldviews all the time, it's just very dangerous. And obviously, right before the 2020 election, I feel it's important to always point out acts of misinformation and disinformation and fake news, as individuals like to call it. So, like I said, yeah, this is somewhat of a public service announcement. I hope you guys like the new setup. For the ones who are watching on video, I'm in my room now with my books and everything. So, and I got Prince, Purple Rain vinyl in the back. But yeah, everyone, of course, thanks as always for listening. I might be taking a little bit more time off. This is probably be the ending of the second season. I've gotten a lot of work done, honestly, during the quarantine, as most people have, to stay busy. I've done about maybe 10 or 12 podcasts, about 5 or 6 YouTube videos in these months. And I'll be starting my my clinical psychology doctorate program very soon, in about 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm super excited about that. And I know it's going to be a lot, so I might have to take a break on the videos and podcasting for a second, and then come out with a third season soon, probably in a few months. And I love doing this, of course, as always. Thank you, everyone who supports me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check back on some of my past videos here. And as always, I'm your host, Randon. And thanks again for listening. You've been listening to Don't Worry, We'll Talk It Out.